Hello. Welcome. Today is a Saturday, and usually we will come live and have a chat, have a conversation. So, welcome, and please share the channel with your friends, with people who can, who would want to show interest, or who would you think should listen to this. So tell your friends about it. Let's go. So, my name is OBENG DARKO, and welcome. The beauty about social media, you know, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. The beauty about these is that we can use it to acquire knowledge. Things that were not readily available to us prior to, these platforms coming. Now we have access to acquire knowledge. We have access to even get knowledge that can help us to build the required skill set for life. I think there's knowledge that you need to bring clarity to your mind. And once you have clarity in mind, you are able to do some things. And there is knowledge that comes to help you to build skills, to build something, that you can use to produce another thing. And today I want to share with all of us the importance of history, of African history, and the African dignity, if you want. Because a lot of the times we hear so much from our own people, and much of what they say, or many of the things that they say, especially when it comes to us, are very much negative and denigrating. And they devalue us, they put us down, they make us feel like we are not a people and we are useless. And there is a common denominator in all this, where you see that a person's understanding of history forms their conviction, and the foundation of your education is the history that they taught you, because the history forms the knowledge you have about yourself. And the greatest of knowledge is the knowledge of self, because if you don't know yourself, then every other thing is not important. And you cannot acquire self-knowledge if you are you don't know history. If somebody meets you now, they will ask you, what is your name? Where do you come from? Who are your parents? Where did you grow up? They are all history. They are all history. So if I want to control a man's life, I will just change the history. So if you don't know it, this world is a fight of history. The one who is teaching you history is actually making you a warrior, a conqueror, or that person is making you a victim. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, let me know. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, please let me know. If you can hear me, let me also know. I should check my volume. But is it working? Everything here says that it's working. So if, let's say if another person hears us, let's know. If you hear us, let's know. So the history is the foundation of education. And if you are not, if the right history is not available to you, if you are not taught the right history, it's likely that you don't know yourself. And it's likely that you don't know your people. And as a matter of fact, Africans, it's likely that you don't know who you are as an African. And much of what they have taught us for the last 500 years as Africans, especially from the education that they gave us, the one that is making me speak this English, And the one that they told us in our churches and mosques, they did not put us or treat us as a people who had a great history. You know, so a lot of the times when you talk, the other day I was talking to Auntie Tilly. We were having a program, and he said that, oh, no, I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear excuses. Let's look at the solutions. You know, so a lot of you talk about excuses and complain and blaming others. And I know that most people who have not intentionally studied history will say that, you know, they want solution. The way, what is the way forward? The solution is in the history. That is, if you don't know, the solution is in the history, the knowledge of history. You cannot go far until you know the history. That's why a lot of people are trying to find their way out, and they don't know themselves. They don't know where they come from. They don't know their parents, their grandparents, the things that they did, their strength, their weakness, their heritage, their resources that they left to them. They have no clue, and they are saying that they want to create a great future, and that's why they don't have the answers. Why? Because the solution of the tomorrow that you're looking for is actually in the history. Nothing is new under the sun. Solomon said that, great thinker. You know, so when you want to bring the minds of our people home, you must teach them their history. And unfortunately, somebody has taught us something. If you go to church, they teach you something about yourself, good or bad. If you watch movies, you see yourself. You hear the history of Ghana. You hear the history of all those, you know, and a lot of the times, the great history, they talk of them from the other side. When it comes to us, they put us down. And so if you have not read any African history from great African thinkers and historians, I will implore you, I will encourage you to get a book and read it. Because it means that you've not been educated as an African. And that is why a lot of the times you will feel frustrated. You have good heart for Africa, and you are trying to look at all the solutions for Ghana to develop. But then you become emotional because possibly you have not studied the history. And you have not studied the history, I dare say that you have not begun yet. And if I use myself as an example, I was a typical student, you know, Ghanaian. Went to university, did science. They didn't teach us about anything that had to do with our greatness in history. You know, so when we were even in school, I remember some friends who go to some of these clubs, and I didn't show any interest. I was a Christian. I would go to church, play the keyboard, pray, you know, things like that. I didn't see any need to read history. I was reading some books. I would read about management and finance and you know, and business and entrepreneurship and leadership and all those. I didn't ever think that it was important for me to read any history. And you will see me with a lot of shirt and suit and tie, you know, because a man's choices will come from what he knows, what you've been taught. Your training is responsible for your behavior. What you wear, what persuades you, what you're passionate about, even your results, they come from the things that you've been taught. So if you've been taught wrongly, it's likely that your choices will reflect them, you know. So a lot of the time you see a young man, a young woman, you know, they will bleach their skin, they will do all kind of things to their hair, and their standard of beauty, you will see it. It's because of the knowledge that they have of themselves. Many of them have not read anything. You see a lot of our young men, and they will wear this suit and tie, and the things that they are obsessed with reflect the knowledge that they have about themselves. You know, so it's everything. And the history, your sense of history is actually your protection. It's a drag to you. Is actually the things that you fall back on. If you see a very big tree, for instance, the root is the history. So you will not meet any great man who has been able to fight all through from nothing to greatness, who fights for his people, and who's been able to develop his people, especially Africans, who are not great students of history. It's almost impossible. You will not see that, you know. So if you want to build something in Ghana, in Africa, without much frustration, and you want to have proper understanding of things and how the world runs, read the history. Go and look for books. Pay attention to it. So we talk about science, technology, engineering, mathematics. They are key, they are critical, but they only rely or depend on the sense of history you have as an African. The substructure, the foundation of the building, you put a lot of money there. It holds everything together. So if the foundation is wrong, which is the sense of history you have, the knowledge of history you have, if it's wrong, every other thing, somebody said that you can all easily convince any people if they don't know where they come from. And it's very difficult for you to push anybody anywhere if they've been built in the sense of history, the knowledge that they have about themselves, you know. So I'm saying that the culture that we even have is an education system. The knowledge that they gave us. Or if you live with, I live with my grandfather and my grandmother, the things that they told us about where they came from, what they did, what they came to meet, they shaped our mind. But today I really want to talk about things that you can look at from books as Africans, because seriously, the history that they have taught us, they taught us those history, you know, the things that they taught us in school, especially if you ever met any history at all, they taught you to see yourself as a victim. So that's why you can hear a very big preacher say that the Africans were selling their people. Because that's why he was taught in school and he has bought it. We are our own enemies, you know. Somebody will even say that we are nothing. We are born bad. Because if you don't have the history, a lot of the things will be off. Constructive history is what I'm talking about. And so you have to go and search it. Now there's data on the internet. Go and read about the 1,000-year history, 2,000-year history, 10,000-year history of Africa. Because the Europeans, one of the things that they did when they came is they saw us as nothing. They saw us as a people that they had to educate. They saw us as a people that they had to civilize. A lot of them were even debating. They wrote books to say that we were not at their level in terms of humanity. And that and when they classify human beings, they said that they were at the top. Some people were between, and then the Africans were at the bottom. And people, their philosophers, their teachers had this kind of conception. So almost everything that they taught was based on this. And if you ever think that somebody else is not as fully developed as you, do you ever think that you will give them proper education? Do you think that you give them the best of tools? Do you think that if you form anything, you will give them the best? No. And so when people are looking for solutions as to why a lot of the times we behave the way we behave, much of it is coming from the kind of education that we've been given. And I'm saying that history is at the foundation of it. And if you meet any group of people who are very great, strong, and who keep on fighting, and who are very committed to their progress and the common good of their people, they've been taught something. It does not just come naturally. They've been taught, they've been systematically taught of their greatness. That's why they can fight. You know, that's why they can push forward. And I know that majority of our people have not been taught any right history. Most of our people, the closest is Bible knowledge. And I know that if you want to spark a fight with Africans, talk about religion, they will be angry with you. Talk about politics, they will get you. Talk about the Europeans have not done good to us. They will fight you. But when you say that they are great, they say that Masa Mayanyi. And then they are looking for the solution. And yet the solution is in the history. You know, so my name is OBENG DARKO. Today I'm talking about the importance of African history. And I just said that a lot of my confidence in myself came from the point I started to teach myself about our greatness and our history. A lot of things started to fall into places. You know, I didn't doubt. I started to speak well of my people. I started to fall in love with my people. I didn't see even all the negatives and all the problems that they said that if you live in Ghana, you will meet. Because a lot of things started to make sense to me. You know, and it matters what you know. It matters what you know. And the greatest of them the knowledge that you have about yourself. You know, so when I started to learn, and this kind of history that we are talking about is almost in everything, you know, in every period, you know, for the last 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years. Pick any location, any tribe where Africans are, or where even Europeans and Chinese are, and you say that you want to extract the African history there, you'll be shocked. Go to Australia and go and see the Aborigines, for instance. Go to India and go and see the black-skinned people. Look at how they treat them. Go to anywhere in the world and how they treat anybody like you or like me. Some people will even say, go to Indian culture and see how they treat those who have dark skin. Which means that if you have a skin like mine, the way you will live in this life and be able to stand the distraction, because in any culture, people become great out of the culture that they've been brought up. And so if the culture is designed to oppress you and look down upon you, a lot of educated people will even debate this, but wherever you are, look at people with power and money and influence. Look, those of you who say that there's equality, look at those who with power and money and influence. If there is a small representation of people like me there, it means that there's something which is not right there. And I'm saying that if you can withstand and live in such cultures, you must have very strong knowledge of yourself and of who you are. You know, and if you want to suppress any people, you teach them that they are nothing and they did not contribute anything to the world. You know, a lot of Africans think like that. They say that, what have you even contributed? Somebody will say that, oh, Obibini. And whenever I hear that, it sinks my heart. It means that this person has not been educated and he's failed to educate himself in terms of his history. You know, so the whole European concept and structures were built on the fact that they are the best of minds. They deserve the best, and everybody else does not deserve anything. And of course, the Africans at the bottom must be treated like nothing. You know, so the Africans have accepted that. And until you study and read and recorrect that, you will live in this life. You can be highly educated. You can have money. You know, we have a lot of people with money who have built businesses here. But when they stand to talk, you hear the words that they use for us. By the time that you're through, you're confused as an African. Because the examples that they will give in the same, you know, the person is talking for 10 minutes. All the examples that they will give will be good examples from everybody else. But the moment they come to their own people, they will cite all the wrong examples. Why? Because the culture that we live in, which is the European structured culture, looks down upon the African. You know, so he's reflecting something subconsciously. He's saying things that he's not. So if you've not studied it intentionally, when you stand, you put your people down. When your people do something, you will not forgive them. But when others do something, you say that, yes, they are very intelligent. And so now on social media, you see a lot of young African. You see a lot of young Africans. And you are the reason I'm doing this. A lot of them with huge social media platforms. And all that they talk about is Obibinidia Onimshe. Obibinidia Jimmy. The black man is not wise, is not intelligent. Some preachers will even tell you. I heard a preacher, you know, some years ago, who told me, who was preaching, I heard it, said that the Africans are cursed, and he stopped praying for them. This is somebody who didn't study the history, you know, and all kind of stories. Europeans, Americans especially, use the Bible to say that the Africans were not human beings and they were inferior. Some of them will even say Noah's children, Ham, Japheth, and Shem, you know, Ham was cursed by God. And so somebody will say that the skin is cursed. It's not true. A lot of it is not true. And I say that once you study, commit. If you have a lot of queries, a lot of questions on your race, on your achievement, go and study that. You study that, go and ask questions. Go to the internet, go to YouTube, Google African history for the last 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years. Study them. Study about the greatness of Africa. Study about our achievement. Pick any tribe in Africa. Think about every one of the tribes has their own greatness, you know. And somebody said, oh, they even came to teach you how to read. So I'm saying that the fundamentals or the foundation of education is the history that they taught you. That's why when you were doing engineering, for instance, thermodynamics, they will mention some people's name. And they say that they discovered some things. And almost every one of them, they had to make sure that they were Europeans. You know, go to any course, they had to make sure that they were Europeans. And the other day, somebody was arguing, so what you're saying is not true. You know, they discovered that. And of course, once you educate the African, the kind of education that we've been given in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Kenya, the colonizers or the colonial education that we've been given, who don't represent us. We don't see our representation in our education. It means that somebody created everything. Somebody came up with all the theories and the theorems, and we just have to be pushed, you know, taught that they discovered all this, and we didn't discover anything. Now, if you give people this kind of education, you have harmed them, you have destroyed them. They will never be proud of themselves. You know, so you have, as an individual, you have to go and search. It's not that the Africans were just drumming and dancing, where they were just singing. No, somebody told you that the Africans were great in physics, in chemistry, in biology. Search that, especially if your tendency is always to combat and argue. Don't combat and argue. Just go and search for the information. You heal yourself, because history is medicine. I tell you, it's a protection. It liberates you. You will start to see the beauty in everything that is around you as an African. You start to cherish everything. You start to cherish your language. Even some Africans will have problem with their nose, with their eye, with their lip, you know, because they think that they must look like those in the movies. The moment you are disturbed of that, it means that you don't have knowledge of yourself and of your heritage and of your uniqueness. The moment you start to search that, you will embrace yourself, whether you live here or you live anywhere. You know, so all the countries that you live in, if you don't study the history every day, when you go out, they will tell you that you're nothing. And they will dig all the negatives. When you watch TV in some of these countries, what do you see? Constantly, Africa is poor. Africa is backward. Africa is nothing. Africans have not achieved anything. And then the young people will say that our president is corrupt. Our politicians are chopping our money. You don't know how many American companies are here? Go and search. If you're looking for people chopping your money, go and search for them. And yet your politician or your political leader was also taught from the same structure. So what do you expect? Until he re-educates himself, he will go and follow the same structure that the Europeans have set. And the Europeans have always gone for power and wealth. Always. And they think that they only deserve that. The structures that they built. You may meet some Europeans who are very fair and, you know, maybe. But the structures that they left, they were all designed to make sure that nobody else benefits from anything except them. And those structures continue. And they will tell you that, you know, that's why you hear a lot of these world organizations always saying corruption in Africa, corruption, as if they are clean. Study history. Your vocabulary will change. You will start to see the opportunities. You start to be patient and merciful with your people. You know, you will start to accept yourself. You will start to see opportunity. You will start to become positive as an African. The reason that you are very paranoid and pessimistic is because the critical education that they had to put there, they did not give you. So you don't know, you're lost. But you think that because you have certificate or degree in medicine or degree in engineering, you're educated. That's the funniest thing about people who were given this kind of education from our universities. The universities that the course content was designed to represent the greatness of Europeans, not you. You used to think that you've been given education. And so when you come out, you speak, but yet you can't create anything from the culture, because really the education is to teach you how to build something from where you are, with your people in mind, and with the culture, and with the knowledge that you have. That is really education. So if they don't give you those tools, that's why we have a lot of graduates who can't create anything. Why? Because they were giving something they call education, but they can't do anything. They don't have courage. They don't have pride. They can't fight forward. Why? Because the kind of education they were giving, well, they were giving education against themselves. So they did not discover themselves in that kind of education. And I know it's a serious problem, more serious than COVID. Anytime you meet a lot of Africans, you meet your friends, I'm sure today you have even discussed Africa and Ghana, and you will conclude that it will never work. Somebody told me that whenever we Master Jaima, I have given up on Africa because we are very evil people. Our leaders are corrupt. We don't think well of ourselves. Somebody even told me just about that, my friend. He said that we are very selfish, and as if others are not selfish. As if others are angels and we are the, That's why when you go to church, go to church, any church you go to tomorrow, you will see that they have put European Jesus there. It shows the ignorance of the preacher. So he's bound to a white Jesus who was created from Europe. And that's why you are waiting for them to liberate you, because subconsciously, the white man is God. And that's what they taught us. The white man is God. And that's what they taught us. So if you're an African, even when you're watching a movie, the hero is who? It's the white man. And then they tell you that the devil looks like you. So re-educate yourself. And I did that. I've been doing that since 2004. Watch a lot of videos. I could watch that for 2 years. The man was destroying all the things that I knew. And I came out as a new person. I accepted myself. And I didn't have problem coming back to Ghana to live. That is the essence of education. History is the foundation of it. And you don't know yourself until your knowledge of yourself is great. So with your suit and tie, with your high degree from anywhere, we still cannot solve the problems because structurally, we don't know what what it was built on, or we even dispute it. So for instance, economic crisis and all this, we try to say, and all the obvious answers will be what? We are just corrupt people. That's why we conclude. We are very corrupt. We are dishonest. Somebody told you that. And that was a machination. They designed that. So that when you go to the Africans, just tell them that make them doubt themselves. With time, you'll be able to take everything from them. And that's what they have done. And that's why when you put American visa here, we will run away because you doubt. That's why you can see the Chinese are coming here, the Indians, the Europeans have been here forever. And we are looking for visa to run away. Why? Because we don't have the facts. So the education that they gave us, the school that they taught you, well, maybe your child is in some of these Cambridge courses, and you think that you're giving them education. Without a proper history of where they come from and who they are, you have not educated them. So you must buy your children history books that teach their greatness. Give to them. You can go to those schools, but the moment you give that to them, they will be centered. And once they are centered, you can depend on them. They'll be strong, they'll be courageous, they can work with the little that they have. And others, they will not look at Europeans and say that they are higher in thinking than me. They will not look at the Indians and say that I'm nothing. No. And you will not even become emotional. It will be factual. You have data to combat some of these things. And if you're an African and you live in this world now, your biggest protection is your history that you know about Africa. And I'm not talking about colonization and slavery. That was just an interjection. That was just 500 years ago. And much of it, they did not even just come to colonize Africa. And they came, and some people even say colonial masters. They are not my masters. They are colonizers. They were people who were just crazy. And they wanted everything for themselves. And they had to sell and destroy. And structurally, systematically, the whole of Europe, and the Dutch, the Germans were here, those from Holland were here, the French were here, the English, the Portuguese, all these people were here, and the work, even they call something Acento, ACEENTO, was a document that the Catholic Church had to sign for them to come here. Study it, because these are the things so that some things will start to make sense to you. Because if they don't make sense, you'll be so frustrated that you'll be asking questions. Yesterday, we were in the studio and this gentleman was saying, we are this evil. I said, no. Once you study, you will be merciful a bit for us and with us. Because you cannot build any people until they see their greatness. And you cannot let them see their greatness until you teach them their history. Never forget that. Never forget that. Anytime that maybe you have something at home, ask your mother or your father, what is the story behind this? If they tell you the story behind that thing, you will start to have appreciation for it. Sometimes even the way you see some people and you are angry and you don't like them, once they start to tell you what they have gone through, you start to have some compassion for them. That is what history does. You know, it starts to build your confidence. It starts to build your confidence. So these are not just conspiracies. These are not theories. Everybody is teaching their own except us. Everyone. The Chinese are teaching their people history. You know, 5,000-year Chinese history. The Indians are trying to do that. You know, the Europeans, unfortunately, they don't teach themselves. That's why they were able to cause a lot of damages like that. They just speak little and cause a lot of damages. So Europeans, especially white people, don't know much history. You know, and the Africans the same. A lot of Africans only know culture. You know, our culture, like me, we will dance kete, you know, go for funeral, marriage ceremony, naming ceremony. That is great. That is good. But I'm talking of something that is data backed, that you can use to counteract all the errors that the Europeans have taught. You know, all the errors, because there are a lot of errors. Any history that Europeans have taught you, question them before you accept them. Every one of them that they taught you in school. Because a lot of it is not true. It's like they say that the fanatics were there, they will put gun there and tell them, don't move, put the gun there. So you think that our people were that foolish? That you put the gun there and they will just be submissive? But a lot of Ghanaian people will just say that and accept that. So yes, it's true. Some people even say that they will give us mirror because we had never seen ourselves in a mirror before. And we'll give them human beings. Don't think so. Do you really think that you will do that? If you will not do that, what makes you think that your ancestors will do that? And you think that they were not wise? Some of the greatest empires, Ghana Empire, Shanghai Empire, Benin Kingdom, some of them were the best of the world. And you think they didn't have science, technology, nothing to organize their sewage, energy, take care of their children, educate them? You think they didn't have anything like that? And somebody came to give you chalawati. And so no, study it and you'll be amazed of your own greatness, you know? So don't accept a lot of these things because the world is nothing without Africa. Never forget that. The greatness of the world. Well, even if you study the so-called Industrial Revolution, study it well, you will see. But they will never put some of these things on the internet. Anything that the Africans. So when you are searching, anything that blames us, anything that when you're looking for examples of bad things and poverty, they will see, you see Africa there, right there. When you're looking for technology and science and innovation and prosperity, you will never find us there because some people are controlling those, you know, and that is the narrative that they have tagged you. And a lot of our people, especially the super religious ones, listen, what changes a man's life is the knowledge he has. So go and search that. And I'm saying that they didn't teach you. I'm a product of that education. I'm telling you, they did not teach you. Even those who read history. So go to University of Ghana's library and ask them of great African writers, their history. You know, go and search them. Don't say that, oh, these are just radical people. They are not just radical people. The kind of errors that Europeans have pushed, you cannot just have any average teacher to correct that. You need a lot of people who are radical and who have done a lot of research. You know, so look for Sheikh Anta Diop. He's a great African. He was from Senegal. He did a lot of research. He had to combat them from the university. Look for them. Look for his books and read them. They'll help you. Molefi Asante is a great lecturer. Go and look for his books and read them. It will bring a balance. You know, some white people have done some books. You know, they are trying to look for solutions. But Africa's solutions is in correcting the errors that the Europeans left. That first, before you even teach them anything. You think that you think that democracy is going to develop Africa? That's a lie. That's a lie. It's a system that was designed to keep you down. It was not designed to make you prosperous. You know, so that's why you see the politicians. They know that this one cannot work. So that's why they are behaving the way they behave. Democracy is not going to develop Africa. You know, because you're going to use the money to do elections and share it among your appointees. That's all. So if you really want to develop, look at the countries, look at Chinese. They had their own system, said, no, let's go with this. Look at even the Arabs, their system, let's go with this. The other ones who stole a lot of wealth and have guns are now trying to say that every 4 years, change yours, change your government. But they had stolen a lot of money, and now they have built, a lot of things with guns. And they control, look at their currencies everywhere, power. And they are saying that copy us. How are you going to copy that? When you didn't go anywhere for 300 years to have a lot of people work for you and, you didn't see a lot of wealth. How are you going to use your mind to develop this? Some people say that Rwanda is just trying to polish their city. They're cleaning the gutters. That is one form of development. But development where you are manufacturing and producing the things that you need with technology, whether it's in electronics or construction, whether it's in agro processing or textile, those things that you're going to build the minds of your people to produce. That's not what Rwanda is doing. No, because that one calls for another higher form of information. What China has done. And China had to do that by re-engineering the minds of their people first, to accept themselves, to say that we are great people. And we have to do the same thing if we really want to develop. And we want to correct the damages. And so when you go to our universities now and our secondary schools now, what they are teaching them, it will just make them to look for a job and sing hallelujah to the white man all the time. So that's why you are looking for multinational to work as a manager. You are not thinking of creating that business. They told you that, don't worry, just let's pay you. But they are focusing on the wealth. Why? Because they just want you to follow them. Anytime that you want to take your destiny in your own hands, they will say that, no, you're becoming too radical. They will tame you, But you can do that once you have the truth, once you have the facts. And I'm saying that you reading coding and all those aerodynamics engineering and computer science and all those statistics and actually, they don't mean anything if you don't have the right history as an African. You don't mean anything. Theology that you're studying, you still, you are still trying to, you can encourage people and motivate them, but they will still not be able to do anything for themselves until they become proud of themselves as a people. And I'm saying that that is what happened to me. I learned that. And that's why in all my books, I talk about the essence of you getting the right African knowledge, the right African history. Then you accept yourself. And once you accept yourself, you can accept everybody. You become confident. And with that confidence, you can achieve anything. It's not the confidence that when you meet the white man, you start to cry, you look for help. It's the confidence that you're enough to build yourself with whatever that you have. So look for that. Study. Read. Search for it. It will blow your mind. It will liberate you from any bondage. So the history that is the education, is the proper education. And that's why at that point you start to make sense. Anybody who has not done that constructively does not make sense. I talk to a lot of people, highly educated people. When they start to talk, you see a lot of inconsistencies, especially when it comes to us as Africans, because they have not studied that. They have not read that. And some of them don't even think it's important. And yet they are looking for solution. So the greatness of education is education of self, and read book history from African writers. Europeans have colonized almost everything. Look at the laws that we use to do business. They say that is their law. Look at the laws that we are using to govern our country. They say it's their law. Look at the laws that we live in democracy. Look at the sports, football and all those. Look at innovation, almost everything that they have to put their name on it. Even if they pick it from somebody else, they have to put their name on it. So you're not civilized until you learn from them. And yet we have come from very different culture. And you cannot lift a people by imposing another culture on them. It will destroy them. You have to evolve from the culture and develop the culture. So for instance, the education that they gave us, we should have just used our language to evolve. That was the best. And if Nkrumah could not do that, at least they should have added that. How do you tell us that we should be speaking English and still be proud of ourselves? Better. So it's complex. But at least the history, a little history, will bring home a lot of things, It will bring home a lot of things. So study it. Why do you tell me that if I wear some kente, it's not standard? But if if I wear suit and tie, then so your history, your culture is protection. So if you're sick, you take medicine, isn't it? The moment you take that, you become. That's why when you take the fish from the water, you can't expect anything from them. You tell the snake to fly in air, I don't know. But if you put the bird in air, you see, that is the environment. They become great. That is the environment. They become great. You know, so alien culture will destroy. If you design and promote yours, you become great. And this is factual. This is factual. So my name is OBENG DARKO. Today, I'm sharing with you the importance of history, the importance of African dignity. Don't accept anything. Don't just accept anything. Don't just be anywhere and just accept that, you know, we are nothing. We don't have anything. So, you know, we will go. Somebody has finished university. I will just go and be a cleaner for 10 years. No, don't bear with that. Don't put up with that. I'm nothing. We don't have anything. Don't put up with that. It's not true. You're great people. We have something, you know, and you can build something from here. Yes, travel, go and see something, but never live anywhere that every day you are in pain and frustrated and unhappy. And yet they told you that your country is nothing, so don't stay there. It's not true. They lied. And the protection, see, once you know this knowledge, there's no problem that politicians will do or commit or create that will frustrate you, because then you understand where they come from and you understand their strength and what they have. You know, you understand their strength and what they have. So if you don't study this, you'll be shocked. You will see that no, nothing makes sense anymore. And a lot of our people have come to that point where nothing makes sense anymore. A lot of Africans are in that point, especially the educated. They're at that point where everything does not make sense. We were hoping that by this time you'll be developed. You see, the other day they were saying something. When they teach you the education that they designed for us, you study it well. There was a document that I read about a year or so ago that intentionally higher form of mathematics, engineering, technology, they said that don't let us teach these Africans. So you will see that 100 years ago, 150 years ago, the Africans that they said that they were trying to educate them, they intentionally said that no, mathematics, engineering, science, education, no. So they were teaching them cooking, theology, literature, you know, office administration, cleric, those things, because they knew that if they would teach them higher mathematics, it will make them to think to solve problems. They knew that. They knew that. And so they intentionally took them out. So they took that one out, and they took the essence of history that you will need as a human being out, as an African, which is built on your greatness. And these two that they took out, these two, they have created a lot of damages and a lot of self-doubt. So the ability to sit down and build structures to solve problems, we did not have, especially those that they sent to school. And that is why those who did not go to school can build something. That's why my grandfather could leave cocoa farm for his children, and those who went to school would leave nothing. You know, so if I were president, I would put, let's say, ADMAS and charge a lot of historians to bring African mathematics to it and teach them and put history in them from primary school to the university. They would do this, you know, and maybe I will add innovation, financial information, and entrepreneurship. I will add these to these courses, and when they come out, they will not wait for anybody to help them. Okay, you know, so they knew that if you teach them this, you'll be able to solve problems yourself. You'll not wait for God. But once they took that one out, you took the science, the engineering, the mathematics, you know, out. Once you took them out, then they would have to rely on God to solve their problems for them. And that is one of the reasons when tomorrow is Sunday, you hear everywhere we are crying to God to come and solve our problems for us. Because the things that we needed to develop our minds, they took them from our school. So we produce lawyers, orators, not people who can sit down and design processes and systems and protocols to solve problems, to extract our gold and use them for our development. They did not put them in books. So the ability to think for ourselves is in question. Is in question. Everybody sees this except us. And it does not mean that we are inferior. That's why when it comes to that point, they say that we are inferior and we can't think. No, it's because somebody disabled that. When they were giving those to the others, they disabled those things in our education. So they took the mass out. That's why they told you, when you go to school, just do, come and sing. And that's why everywhere the Africans are, they are promoting sports and entertainment. Look at it. They are just promoting sports and entertainment. So you look at the Americans, African-American sports and entertainment. Where are the innovators? Where are their physicists? Where are the people who handle chemistry? Where are those who are building industries, manufacturing? Where are they? They don't show them to us. As a matter of fact, there are some documents that they said that if you go to higher, like PhD in physics and chemistry, go and look for how many African Americans are doing those courses. A lot of this, even the scholarships that they give us here, look at the courses that they will give. They will sponsor for you to go to Germany or England or America to do. What are the courses? There are some courses that they will never give you scholarship to do. Why? Because they know that those things will make you use your brain to solve problems, and the other ones will make you just talk. And so the education that they promoted were education that will make us talk, not to sit down and plan. And greatness, a lot of people who are building things, they sit down, they have the ability to crack their brains to solve problems. They are not hoping that somebody else will come and solve the problems for them. So if they have serious problem, they sit down and design systems. If they have unemployment problem, they sit down. If they have economic problem, they sit down and plan. Say, what are they telling us? Let's build some temple and God will come and solve problems. Somebody told us that, and it's not true. And it's not true. So history is the foundation of education. And if you want a great man, look for the essence of history. So if you don't learn the history, you're just talking. That's why I look at a lot of our young men in the social media in Ghana. A lot of the things that they are concerned or obsessed with, they are very shallow. Why? Because the education that they gave them was not based on critical thinking, creative thinking, ability to dive deep. So we've been groomed with shallowness. So somebody just gets more money and he's a big man. When others are building factories, when others are building serious things, sitting down to crack their brains, fighting for their independence, we are there entertaining ourselves. And when we think, we say that we have done great things. We have not. We are just entertaining ourselves. And when you are poor, you don't entertain yourself. You work after work, then you entertain yourself. So go to Jamaica, it's the same. Go to America, African America, it's the same. Go to England, the blacks are the same. Why? Because there's a certain education that they did not make available to us. And even in the white community, the very top, they have this kind of information. Those in the middle, that they call the middle class, they don't have this. So they also have their own persuasion, and they work to feed the system and create wealth for the very top. So we need to liberate our minds. We need to study. You will never find your greatness until you start to read your own great African history. And I'm saying that search them. You'll find them. There's YouTube. Go to YouTube. You find a lot of them there. Go to Facebook. They are there. I had great men who taught me this. I've never met them. That's the essence of social media, actually. Smartphone that came is done marvelous work for us. Because some of these things, before they would just CNN and BBC and these guys would just contain. They would just they sieve it, whatever they want the world to see about Africa. A lot of this data you never see. But now you can see videos of teachers who died in maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, articles that they wrote, research that they have done on our greatness. So if anybody tells you that we were nothing, that is not true. Go and search for them. That's why they're always telling you the Greek civilization. The civilization of the world started with the Greeks. Greeks were just about 4 BC centuries, 400 years before Christ. That is not the beginning of civilization. Because there were other 2,000 years before Christ, 3,000 years, 4,000 years, 5,000. Some of the monuments on the continent of Africa, some of them are 3,500 years before Christ. And yet the Greeks started around 400 BC. So Plato, that's why when you go to school, they're telling you about Plato and Aristotle, as if they Europeans are not that straight. They will want everybody to say that we are European and we are the great thinkers. And you see a lot of Africans who bow. No, go and search. There are research now. There are documents to prove that there were civilizations before them. And read. You'll find, it's like sea. Everybody will find something that will heal them. And you will know that you're educated when you start to become confident in yourself, when you start to become proud as an African, when you start to change your language to use good words, no matter how impossible it looks. So no, there's a way out. We are the ones to solve this. Once you start to talk like that, you have educated yourself well. And nothing nothing can be impossible or will be impossible. Why? Because then you're educated. Education is construction. It's systematic. It's a process that you put in place. It's not something that you win today and you lose tomorrow, So that's education. So educate yourself. I'm saying that they didn't teach us. Even if you have first degree in history, they didn't teach you. That's why you're still looking for visa. That's why you are still saying that Ghana, we will never go anywhere. That's why you're saying that our politicians are corrupt. That's why you're very happy with suit and tie. But when somebody wears the other one, you say that is it's nothing. Because you are not proud of yourself. You will never meet any great people who are never proud of their heritage and of themselves. Never. You will never meet anybody, who is not proud of where they come from. So look for that. If you have decided not to go to your hometown, go and look for that. Go and look for your uncles, your great-grandmother's siblings or aunties. Look for them. Those that you can put to school, send them to school. When you're educated, you look for your family. When you're educated, you go to your hometown, do something there. Start a farm there. Give money to the boys to create jobs in your village. Be proud of it. Don't sit somewhere and say that I will never go to Ghana. The problem is your education is weak. That's why you have problem with yourself. The moment you're educated, you become buoyant. You become centered. Nobody can just push you. Become proud. So my name is OBENG DARKO. Today, we're talking of African history and African dignity. And if you just join us, I'm saying that those things they didn't put in school. So a lot of us, 40 years, 50 years, we know nothing about Africa. We have no clue. And that's why whenever we open our mouth, we are just, the words that come from our mouth show that we've not been taught. And that's why we just talk about negativity all the time. And we see impossibilities because we've not been taught. The people who have been taught will see possibilities. They will take up. And that's why you sit there and the Chinese man is talking and you just say that he's insulting your people and you don't fight because you're weak. That's why when you are signing a contract as a government official, you are signing it for the foreigner. And when it comes to your people, you want to oppress them because you've not been taught. You're weak. The moment you're a police officer, you go there, there's an incident. You're fighting for the foreigner, not your people, because you've not been taught. You're a politician. You fight for foreigners so that you can take 10%. You're weak. You're a preacher. When you stand there, you wear your suit and tie and condemn your people. You've not been taught. They taught you Bible from position of a servant. In the first 3 centuries of Christianity, those who protected the doctrine of Trinity, the Africans, Athanasius, Origen, even Augustine, the father of Western civilization. The mother was a Nubian. Search, read. You will see your greatness in everywhere. So if anybody tells you that the African is nothing, that is not true. That is not true. They just, your greatness, they just try to put it. That's why they constantly show you negative things about Africa. If somebody is doing that, you have to know that they are lying. Constantly, they are showing you things about Africa that are not good. Why do they do that? Because they want those who went never to look back. So we have something colonized mind. So liberate yourself from colonization of the mind. Liberate yourself from it. Because a lot of us are still in the colony. Because of the education, because of the religion, because of what we watch on TV, many Africans, the minds are in colony. And you can see it because they worship those who colonized them. They worship them. They worship them, and you dare not attack them, they will fight you like something. That's why somebody will say that glass and because your mind is under colony. It's colonization. You don't know. When you're liberated, you fight for your people. Right. So if you want to join us, I will put the link here. You can share your experience with us, and importance of African history. So Len Jackson, you said what? Jackson, they will understand you until they experience it. Okay. Listening to that's when I had experience. Okay. So read, search, because systematically they didn't teach you that. You've been educated to be a servant to those who colonize our continent, And so a lot of the things that we understand, it's not like that. Read, search. So helping to travel outside. My brother has elected to go into farming in Ghana instead of me helping him travel outside. That's it, because he knows something. We should not be the scum of the earth. We should not be the lowest. We should not be the ones doing cleaning and factory work all the time and security. No, we should not be. We should not accept that just because they give us some $1,000. No, we should not. And we must have pride in ourselves. And that pride will only come when you have information. And so when things get difficult, you will not cry because you know something. What pains me most is my siblings are not getting my ideas of helping them to make good. Living in Ghana, they prefer, yes, because that is what they were educated to look to Europe and America as a place to be and to look down upon themselves. It was something that they designed, and it has really worked for them. That's why you meet the average white man, he thinks he's wiser than you. The average white man thinks he's richer than you, even though he's on debt. A lot of people, how much are you worth if you take your house and your car from it?